A wise man once said, whatever comes up must come down. And this statement is unfortunately true for everything, including video games. Well, some games barely avoided this statement. There are exceptions that really stand the test of time. GTA, Minecraft, Team Fortress 2. But throughout the last few years or so, there were many great video games that were on top of the world and had everyone on a leash. But then after a while, they lose all relevancy and fall off completely. Like Fall Guys. Fall Guys was at one point on top of the gaming world. Every streamer was playing it and everyone wanted to get their hands on it. You got streamers like MrBeast, PewDiePie and Moist Critical playing it. The simplistic gameplay and the silly tone of Fall Guys attracted many people. Fall Guys was released in the summer of 2020 exclusively for PS4 and PC. The game rose to popularity when streamers started to play it. This game was a perfect break from the hyper-competitive games at the time. Fall Guys peaked at 170,000 concurrent players on Steam. Fall Guys was so simple and balanced that even players that never even played video games had a chance to win. That's what gave its appeal. Why play competitive games like Fortnite or Call of Duty when you can sit back and play Fall Guys? Fall Guys were really crushing it during the summer of 2020. Things were going great for Fall Guys until Among Us came into the picture. Remember, Fall Guys was so loved because it solved a burning desire for a simple and casual social gaming experience. While not only did Among Us came to provide that desire, they done it even better than Fall Guys, but in an opposite way. Instead of bringing people together to have fun like how Fall Guys done it, Among Us tears people apart and break people's trust with each other. In other words, Among Us was more emotionally engaging than Fall Guys. So people just flocked to Among Us as Fall Guys was just getting boring. Fall Guys did had an eventual rise again because the devs added free-for-all, more levels and more maps to make the game less stale and more engaging. And it's also widely agreed that the streamer Ludwig free-for-all tournament was the icing on the cake on reviving Fall Guys as well. So Fall Guys was thriving again with 50 million downloads. What could possibly go wrong for Fall Guys? Enter Epic Games. Epic Games acquired Mediatonic, the studio behind Fall Guys. And it was this acquisition that marked the second downfall of Fall Guys. Let me explain. Epic Games made some changes to Fall Guys that was not well received by the masses. First off, they voted 35 levels in the next season of Fall Guys, which sent the game right back to where it started to fall off at the first time. Fall Guys was getting more and more monetized. There were also bad glitches, hackers cheating to win the game and barely any updates. It also didn't help that people were getting too good at the game, which ruins the one thing that made it special, a casual experience. This all led to Fall Guys fall off. The devs tried to revive Fall Guys for the third time by adding creative mode, but that didn't help. So now, Fall Guys has officially fall off, guys. Now let's talk about Fall Guys' predecessor, Among Us. Everybody on the internet who hasn't been living under a rock has at least heard of Among Us. It was the #1 game and everyone played it during the early days of 2020. Among Us kept us company during the quarantine time, I can't even lie. Like, remember the times when we was all forced to stay inside our houses 24/7 because of the you-know-what? During that time, dog, I was so bored, I can't even lie. All I would do was Discord servers, watch anime, and watch streamers play Among Us. And it was... finger licking good special. Among Us blew up around 2020. The time where popular streamers discovered the game. The streamer credited for popularizing Among Us was Soda Poppin. He brought it to the spotlight, I can't even lie. There was nothing else to do during quarantine, so we just watched those streamers play Among Us. The streamers looked like they were invested in the game as well. Like, look at their faces, G. Everyone and their mama were playing this game. And for good reason too. It was a game of survival where you as a crewmate had to complete certain tasks while also trying to figure out the person out of the 10 crewmates that was a bean-eating imposter, while it was the imposter's job to take out all the crewmates without seeming suspicious. It basically gave a kill or be killed type effect. This game was perfect for quarantine. It literally replaced the way you interacted with your groups. And Among Us memes were everywhere. You just couldn't escape it during that time, man. Among Us peaked with 100 million downloads with a player base with over 3 million. Now that's a lot of people. Among Us was on top of the world, but not for long. Throughout 2021 going, Among Us started to decline in popularity, and there were a few reasons why. Hackers were coming in to ruin the fun, there were server issues, toxicity issues, the tasks were eventually getting repetitive, there was no real sense of progress, no major updates, and the game just felt stale after a while. Plus, core content creators and streamers that helped Among Us get to the spotlight just abandoned the game altogether. This all led to Among Us downfall. There were efforts to revive the game, like adding new maps and launching Among Us in virtual reality, which helped for the short time but eventually failed. So Among Us may has fallen off, but it provided millions of players across the globe with good memories during the quarantine era. Another game that literally had the whole world on a chokehold just to have a complete fall off is Pokemon Go. Me personally, I never got into playing Pokemon Go, but I knew everyone else was playing it. I don't think you understand how popular Pokemon Go really was during 2016. This game literally was so popular, yeah? It broke 5 world records in just a month. The highest grossing mobile game in 1 month, the most downloaded video game in 1 month with 130 million downloads, highest charting game in 70 countries, highest revenue game in 55 countries, and it was the fastest game to reach $100 million in just 20 days. Like, bro, that's insane numbers. It was insane how popular Pokemon Go was back in 2016. It literally had the same effects as the fidget spinners. And oh god, those fell off so hard. Let's not even talk about it. You could just walk outside and you'll see an entire swarm of people who are playing the game. Speaking of going outside, Pokemon Go was the one game that made people unironically go outside and touch some grass. Every popular content creator was making content about it. Everyone loved it so much because it was just such a simple game which allows you to become a real-life Pokemon trainer. It was exciting and it had the perfect storm of nostalgia from childhood and social bonding. Pokemon Go made people socialize more as well. It was more than just a mobile game where you catch them all. The game was so popular that it crashed a lot of servers as the servers could not handle the amount of players playing it. Now, I did a bit of research and it seems that Pokemon Go's popularity has been on a roller coaster going up and down. But it will never top the record-breaking peak it had during the 2016 and 2017 era when everybody was playing it. Everyone was catching them all. Well, except for me. You will never see me go this down bad and go outside to play a game called Pokemon Go. Yeah, I might joke to you or something. There is still a player base for this game, but it's definitely a shadow of its former self. Now, the next game that really fell from grace was Overwatch. Overwatch, what happened to you, man? What? Overwatch's fall off is actually so saddening because it was one of the best first-person shooter games of all time. Everyone was playing Overwatch during the 2016 era. I don't know a single person in 2016 who has not played Overwatch. Overwatch was so good that it was awarded pretty much every gaming award, including Game of the Year 2016. And the Overwatch cinematics were so peak. I personally loved them so much. The Overwatch League was at one point the best thing esports could offer. When Overwatch was first teased at BlizzCon 2014, everybody was hyped because Blizzard had a great portfolio and a great reputation at the time. Blizzard were known for creating masterpieces like World of Warcraft, the Diablo series, and Hearthstone. So when Overwatch was released, it completely blew up and had 7 million players in the first week. And now that's what you call an instant success. I never got into Overwatch, but my favorite YouTubers from 2016 times like Leafy, Pyro, and other commentary YouTubers put Overwatch gameplay at the background of their video. That's how I discovered the game. Overwatch was the top game until it started to fall off around 2018, 2 years after release. And the reason it started to fall off is because people were just getting tired of how unbalanced the game was and the game updates were just getting slow. Also, new games were appearing on the horizon where they basically took Overwatch's place. And we're talking games like Fortnite, Apex Legends, and Warzone. So important and core content creators and streamers just simply dropped Overwatch for these games because they were just tired of the game. And a lot of pro players who played in the Overwatch League retired playing Overwatch. And Activision Blizzard were just getting greedy. It's just greed that got to them, putting everything behind the paywall and all of that, bruv. It's crazy. They took advantage of their core audience all because of greed. Like, how shameful. Of course people would leave their game. Now, Blizzard tried to revive Overwatch by not fixing or updating the original game, but making an entire new game altogether. This will be Overwatch 2, the sequel to Overwatch. This game was first announced at BlizzCon 2019, and the director of Blizzard literally said that with Overwatch 2, Blizzard would
redefine what a sequel means.
Yeah, sure, Blizzard. It's not like you made Overwatch 2 even worse than the original and basically transformed it into a mere cash grab, is it? So the game that redefined what gaming means fell off within a year. Brilliant work, Blizzard. And last but not least, the greatest game that was literally beating every other game during 2017 just to completely fall from grace was PUBG. PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, or PUBG, was at one point the king of Battle Royale games. This game was released in March 2017 by the developer PlayerUnknown. And the game's initial release swooped the entire community off their feet. Even though there were so many Battle Royale games already, PUBG managed to stand out from the West and quickly rose to become the biggest Battle Royale game ever. It became the #1 played game on Steam at one point, with a whopping 3 million concurrent players. People genuinely like this game, including me. I played PUBG on mobile and I was grinding this game hard. No diddy though. I was borderline addicted to this game, maybe because I was often winning the Battle Royales, which is definitely not a flex, but I will never know. But what I do know is that the game was fun, as it felt like a competitive horror surviving game. There's an accent on realism which makes it very immersive. It was also fun to watch streamers play it as well. The streamers made PUBG memorable, I can't even lie. Bro, 2017 was when PUBG was on top of the world. Everyone was playing it, content creators and streamers were making fire content on it. Things were overall looking good for PUBG. What could possibly go wrong? Enter Fortnite. Ever since Fortnite inception, PUBG was getting more and more irrelevant. Fortnite is literally overthrowing pretty much all the great games at this point. Overwatch, now PUBG? God damn, bro. Fortnite, you gotta chill. Fortnite literally talks PUBG's place into becoming the king of Battle Royale. It was just a game that PUBG just couldn't win. It was a GG for PUBG, if you know what I mean. Epic Games is making their competitors have a meltdown because of their success. Now back to PUBG. If you look at PUBG now, it's sad to see what the game has become. The game can be basically summed up in one sentence now. A genre-defining game turned into may the best cheaters win game. Winner, winner, cheater, dinner. Join the Patreon or channel membership for early access to all my videos, access to blocked videos that I'll never share publicly, and uncensored content that's too explicit for YouTube. I'm out. Cheers.